Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Dialogues About Death show with your host, Chris Miller. There he
Good
is.
morning. Good morning, Mary. Good morning, world.
Good morning, interwebs. I love
Yes.
it. Thank you guys so much for joining us again. I can't believe this is episode 10. We were just saying that like
Yep.
crazy,
Going
crazy.
by. This is
Going
amazing.
by so
Love it.
fast. So we're so excited that you're here watching us live. If you're watching in the replay, let us know. And if you have any questions for Chris, he loves answering questions on the
Yep.
fly. So today we are
Sure do.
talking about funeral etiquette 101. And we're going to be talking about what to do and what not to do at funerals, the
Yeah.
importance of attending funerals, what to and not to say at a funeral. Because some people are like, I don't go because I don't know what to do or I don't know what to say. And Chris is going to share those brilliant tips with you today
Sure.
and social media etiquette regarding
Yeah.
funerals because there's a lot of
Yeah.
things that people don't know and they feel awkward and families have certain issues. So we're going to be talking about all that today. I just want to front load all the fun things we're going to talk about today. So
Yeah.
in general, Chris, how are you today?
I'm doing well. I'm getting ready next week. I'm going to be going to my conference in Savannah, Georgia, with all my funeral director friends from around the world.
So
We have our
exciting.
annual convention, so I'm really looking forward to a week and a half.
That is awesome. It's so cool because you
Yeah.
have this network and it's called OGR,
Yeah.
Order of the Golden Rule, because it's a golden
Yes.
rule, right? Do unto others as you do to yourself. I
Yeah.
love that that's the name because it's an international group of independent funeral home owners, and
Yeah.
you get together to collaborate, to fellowship, to share the goods, the bads, the uglies, and best practices. What's worked, what
Yes.
hasn't worked in your industry, and it makes you all better, which
It
is
does.
so great. And you've been the president of this group this year, right?
Yep, this last year I've been able to lead our organization through some wonderful times coming out of what we have. The last couple of years, we've been able to come together and just learn all these wonderful things. And I've been able to visit a few of the funeral homes around the country. So I've been kind of cool being the president and getting out there and just meeting new faces and sharing our stories, our struggles, and our successes. It's really great.
That's awesome. I love it. Better
Yeah,
together for sure.
absolutely.
Okay, awesome. So let's get right into it. And again, a little housekeeping. Make sure, oh,
Sure.
we have Kathy joining us, which is awesome. Thank you, Kathy, for joining.
Morning.
Kathy is the funeral director over at your La Sierra
Yes.
location, right?
That is correct. Kathy's going to be taking over here the realms from Bill. Oh goodness, Bill's retiring, and Kathy's taking over here next week. She's going to be
Wow,
in charge and running the ship.
that's great. And
Yeah,
Bill, we just are going to miss you so much. So
we
when
are.
Bill comes on, we'll
He's put in a lot of good years for us.
He is. He's a kick in the pants, that's for
Yes,
sure.
yes.
As we jokingly say, we put the fun in funeral. So
We try. You bet.
we try, we try. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's ask the first question. And again, Chris, if you have any insights or things that you've witnessed, we people love stories as well. So
Yes.
let's make sure to share those. So let's first talk about what to do and then what not to do. And you could just talk all about the what to do's first and then do the not to do's, or you could mix them together. Um,
Sure.
but well, before we start that, Chris, something we
Yeah.
talked about offline before is that there's kind of a trend of the younger generation or people coming up who don't know the importance of attending a funeral.
Sure.
Let's talk about that first. Let's talk about why is it important if someone in your life has passed away? Why is it important to attend their service, their celebration of life?
Sure. Mary, there's a couple reasons why you should attend a funeral. First of all, on a personal level, it helps put closure for yourself, for your own personal satisfaction of knowing that that person is gone, saying your goodbyes. So taking the time to pay your respects, to have that closure is really important on just a personal level from anybody within your own family. So if it's an immediate family member or a relative, they should just attend just for their own personal closure. It helps with the grieving process. It helps people get over their maybe their guilt if they had guilt, if they had the loss of that person. It's important for them just to show up. In addition to that, it's important if you're just a friend or a neighbor or a guest or a community member, It's important to show up for a funeral to show honor and respect to that loved one and also to show support. Sometimes it's not about the words you say, it's just about the motions of you showing up and being there and perhaps just wrapping your arms around someone and giving them a hug. You don't have to say anything. Just showing your presence, being there, people will remember your presence. Presence is the most important thing there, is being there just as a support for that family, that specific special friend you might have, is to be there. Put your arm around them, give them a hug. A hug is the most important thing you could do. You don't have to say any words. You don't have to say you're sorry. You don't have to say, I know how you're feeling. You don't have to say anything like that. Just be respectful and showing up and just being present.
I love that. My mom always said that the reason that we attend is that it's really about the living, not the dead. Because the person who's gone is already hopefully in heaven and enjoying their time. They're not wondering
Yeah.
who's at their funeral. But it's a sign of respect to their family. She always says if you go to weddings and funerals, it's the beginning of a new life, and it's the celebration of a life well lived. So
Yep.
and it's I still remember people who came to my mom's funeral. You know who showed up. And I
That's
even had
right.
business associates who came to the graveside. And it meant so much to me that they took a moment
Yeah.
out.
It is. No
It's
matter
like
how
that.
many people show up, if it's just, that's right.
Yeah,
Time is the most precious thing you can give.
exactly. Exactly. I love it. So you touched on a couple of the other questions that we want to go a little bit deeper in. We do have a
Sure.
few people who've joined us. Thank you, Steve and Haley. And um, let's see here. We have another question here. Oops. Steve said, I've been to so many funerals, and it's always an honor to be there just to show them that their loved one mattered. It's true. It's like that they made a
That's right.
difference in someone's life.
That's
And
right.
as you said, just giving them a hug. You don't have to, we're going to go into a little deeper of what to say, what not to say, but it's
Yeah.
true. It's just your presence. And they say sometimes your presence is the gift,
That's
right?
right.
Yeah, I love
It
that.
is.
Okay, cool. All right. So the next question I have here is, as we were saying, is what to do and what not to do. Again, people are like, I don't want to go because I don't know what to do. I don't know what to bring. I don't know what to wear. I don't know what to say. So we're going to focus on what to do, and then we'll get to what to say next. But if you could share a little insights on what you've seen of what's most
Sure.
appropriate of what to do and what not to do at a funeral.
Sure. I would say when you do attend a funeral, when you go, there is a point of reverence and being kind of just not solemn or somber, because it is a time for celebration too. But you should act in a meaningful and in a dignified way. Um, I know sometimes people get extremely emotional, and sometimes their emotions get the best of them, and they can have loud outbursts. As an immediate family member, that's quite acceptable. Them losing that immediate family member, people get very emotional. They might get loud. They might physically have outbursts, and that's okay for them as an immediate family member. But as a guest, if you're attending a funeral, you should be somewhat reverent. Like I said, be supportive, be there in the background, be there to see if there's somebody maybe standing there by themselves, a family member, going up to them and just giving them that support. So those are some things that you should do. Maybe have some tissues in your pocket or something. Have a little something to get. Say, oh, here, do you need a tissue? Do you need a Kleenex? So it's just having that little something to give them if they need it, kind of anticipating some of the people's needs. Our staff is always there with either bottled water, Kleenex, there to assist. If somebody might need an extra chair, if they don't have a seat, we'll find them a chair. So it's always assisting them. That's what our job is as a staff. But as a guest, you should just always be somewhat attentive and be respectful. Um, Things you shouldn't do is have these great outbursts and be the center of attention to take the attention off of the person that we're here to celebrate. So you want to be kind of just fit in and flow in and be respectful. And then also, you know what? It's a time to share stories. And you know what? That's part of the healing process too. So some things you should do is say, "Oh, I remember the time that your family member did this wonderful thing for me, and sharing those intimate moments with the families, those are things they'll remember too. So sharing stories, um, and special one times that they may not know anything about, and say, that person came to my rescue one time, or, oh, they came when I was sick, they came and brought me some food, or those are the types of things families want to hear, of all the things that their family member might have done for you. So sharing stories, being there, being respectful, those are some wonderful things that you can do to help a family get through their transition.
I love that. That's really cool. And I think also something that we didn't touch on is what to wear. So sometimes they're like, well, I don't want to go because I don't know what to wear. I think you can just, right? Can you just come as you are?
Sure. There's a lot of things that you can do. Sometimes families are requesting, when it comes to what you want to wear to a funeral, typically it's kind of what you'd wear to church. So you can just dress casual, comfortable, but sometimes families will say, "Oh, we want to have everybody wear their favorite ball jersey, or if it's a football jersey, or it could be like Hawaiian theme. It could be." And some people are very like, "No, I want you everybody to wear black." And so we try to be respectful. Or a sports theme funeral, we'll tell the family, that we'll tell the guests, we'll kind of get it out there through the obituary, and online. When we have the online obituaries, we'll say, hey, the family has requested that you might wear a special color. It could be their favorite color was pink or blue, and so it's like everybody can wear the same color. Sometimes families will have shirts made for the immediate family with a photograph of their loved one, and they might have in memory of that person. So sometimes it's themed, which is kind of cool. It kind of steps it up a little bit when everybody's wearing the same color, the same vibrant colors of Hawaiian gear and stuff. So we always try to talk to the family prior. Would you like us to mention that to your guests and stuff days in advance when they're calling in about service information? Um, so that is really kind of a cool thing. But if there is no theme, if you're just attending, just what you would wear to church, just business casual. Typically, funerals aren't as formal as they used to be. Many years ago, it used to be ladies in dresses, the men in suit and ties, the children in their Sunday best, and everybody had to be very prim and proper. But today, it's just to be there. Like we said earlier, being present, come as you are. Come, you're coming either from school or you're coming from work, to stop in for that hour and a half during the services. It's just to be there. Come as you are. That's what we say. Just come as you are.
I love that. Yeah, so you don't have to be stressing out about it. I love that.
No,
And
not
I
at
think
all.
again, it's the gift of your presence that even if you just zoomed in for the service and left, or sometimes people will say, I can't make the service because of work or whatever, they can just come to the reception. I'm sure that is something like if it's an open reception for again, the family is going to make that choice, which is great. Our next question was regarding what to say or what not to say at a funeral. And Steve actually said that. What to say is really important because he's not always been good at that. Your insights are very appreciated because they sometimes there's a few phrases that people are like, oh my God, if someone tells me it's meant to be, or that
Yeah.
God, heaven wanted another angel. It's like sometimes families don't appreciate those things, even though
No.
it's said with the best of intentions. So, I'm going to ask you: is there the best things to say, and are there things that you suggest avoiding saying?
Sure. Definitely some things that you should not say is, how are you today? We know how they're feeling. They're feeling the loss of the grief of their loved one. So never go up to somebody at a funeral, especially the immediate family, and say, oh, how you feeling? That's just not a good thing. Or how are you today? You should assume that they're not doing very well, because that's why we're here at the service. So you kind of have to watch your words, that what you say to families. Um, Things you want to say is talk about the person, like I said earlier, about stories of them. Talk about the good things, being supportive of that family. Um, you just kind of choose your words selectively. when you're talking to families. That is something I remember back 30 years ago. I put my foot in my mouth once. I was just fresh out of school and I was meeting with family, and I said, "Well, how is your family doing today?" And it's like, "Oh boy, I wasn't even thinking." I mean, it just came out because typically that's what we do. Whenever we walk up to somebody, we go, "How are you today? How are you feeling?" That's just normal instinct. But at a funeral service, you just can't do things like that.
I love that. That's very helpful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, you're glad to see your friend, but it might not be the
Yes.
best time to like tell them the best joke or something because they're
No.
literally trying to process what's going on. But at the same time, you don't need to walk up and be like crying, just because you think you need to, right?
That's correct. I think the time that we're there with them is we kind of need to be their rock. So when we're there present with our families, if you're just like I said, present, you're holding them, you're their rock, you're their foundation during that time, especially if you're a really close, intimate friend. If you've been friends for years and you really knew that their family member, if it was their mom or dad, and you grew up with your friend through high school and college and your best friends, and you've spent all your intimate times and memories together, you're there really to help support that family and kind of sometimes you might even be a backboard for them and listening to them and letting them get some of the things off their chest, some of their grief and some of their frustration. So it's important as a close friend, as a guest, just as a community member. Again, you're just there just to be present. The more people we can put into our chapel, and the more people that we fill up a church, um, and see the presence. Sometimes funerals are only 15, 20 people, and that maybe that person wasn't a very active person in the community, but then sometimes we go to a service, there could be 3, 4, 500 people there because of the way they were active in the community or just giving back throughout the community. So it all depends on that person's life. Sometimes families though elect to have a private ceremony even though they might have been a very famous or well-known person, because sometimes grief is very private to some families. And so it's okay when a family is making arrangements, say, you know what, we just want to have this part private, and then they might make a part of the funeral service public. So if it's a public service, you're more than welcome, and then you need to be respectful of that. And unfortunately, sometimes it may be hard on you individually as a person that you can't go grieve, but it doesn't mean that you still can't go pay your respects later. It's so important to follow up a week or two after the funeral. Maybe that's when you reach out, and maybe the family didn't even have a funeral service, but that's when you need to reach out and say, "Hey, I'm just thinking about you today. And I just wanted to let you know, hey, you're not alone in this. You've got people thinking about you. And hey, you need an ear to lean on. I'm here for you." And so it's important that it's even that week or two later. That's an important part because sometimes it's so overwhelming on the day of the funeral. There's so many people coming up to you, giving you hugs, giving you kisses, telling you stories, and it's so much to process that maybe 4 or 5 days later, a week and a half, 2 weeks later, you pop in and say, "Hey, let's go to lunch." Or, "Hey, you have time? I'd love to talk." Text messaging probably isn't the best thing to do. You might just give like a little hug emoji or something saying, "Hey, thinking of you." But really, talking and listening are two of the most important things, also. So maybe a Zoom call if you're far away, instead of just talking on the phone, maybe something like right now, interacting with some face to face on a Zoom call might be what that person needs, just to hear and see your emotion. Because hearing someone on the telephone is one thing, but seeing their emotions physically on a picture screen is so important. So take the time to take that person out to lunch, talk to them on a Zoom call. That will be more beneficial and more meaningful to that family member as something to do than anything else. So that's just another added little perk to do. Go out there a week or two later after the funeral. They'll remember you as a rock star.
I love that you brought that up. Is that is so true. I think once the all the fanfare, even though that's the wrong word
Yeah,
for it, but after that settles down, that's when the loneliness and the grief really sets in, and not enough people realize that. Like after just even 2 weeks after the funeral is when friends of mine who've lost their husbands are like, that's when I started missing him. I was so numb during
yeah,
prepping for the funeral and getting all the details and everything done, but then everyone went back home.
yeah.
Everyone flew back or went back to their lives, and I'm here alone without, anyone. And so it's so important, as you said, even just, I love the idea of a Zoom. That's so cool because you're face to face, or a FaceTime
Yeah,
meeting. But
yeah,
what I found also is just being there with them, like saying, hey, let's watch Ted Lasso together.
that's right.
Can you want to come over? Like maybe they don't want you to come to their house. You invite them, come over to my house. We'll have some wine and popcorn and we'll watch a movie they like, or
That's
just
right.
something to be with them, not even directly talking about anything.
That's right.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
that's awesome. So you mentioned a little bit about sometimes a family might say, I want this to be a little bit more private. Um,
Yeah.
and so they might not even want anybody physically there, and you have the capability at Thomas Miller Mortuary to completely live stream the funeral, right? So can you tell me a little bit more about that? That how they can either share that publicly
Yes,
or
that is
privately,
correct.
just the people who in their
Sure.
immediate family. But that would be another way to go, even from around the world. So if you can go into a little more detail about your capabilities, that'd be fantastic.
Sure. So when we're in a consultation with our families in regards to things that they want to do in regards to making the service public or private, if a family wants to make a service private, then basically the place is kind of on a lockdown, because then if it's private, it's by invitation by the family only. So when it comes to giving out information on the telephone, putting information out on the website, we can't provide any of that information to the anybody except for the legal next of kin. So if people call the funeral home asking for times and places, I'm like, we're sorry, but this funeral service has been, by the request of the family, is to be held privately. And so no information to be given out, because they want to keep it just to an intimate, immediate family member. Or they also may not want they might have had some issues with some family members that they don't want to be present. And if that's the case, if it's private, then we can ask those people to leave. Now, in addition to in the difference of a public service, if a family says, "Oh, we'd love to have anybody in the community show up, we want to publicize it," we also have the opportunity to what we call live stream the funeral. So we have the technology of having cameras in our chapel on site that we can go ahead. So as the pastors are speaking, people are telling all their stories at the funeral, we can actually have cameras and microphones in our chapel that can stream it live around the world. So if you have families that have challenges in trying to make it here, flying here, especially if it's a far distance from other parts of the world, or maybe it's the wintertime and there's flight delays and you can't make it here, you can log into your computer, you can log into your telephone, and you can actually watch it live. So we've been doing that probably for about 6 or 7 years now. We were doing it 2 or 3 years, even before COVID started. So we were really ahead of the curve when it came to live streaming funerals. And all we do is we have a link on our website. Now, if a family wishes to keep it private, we can also live stream it, and then they would just give out a private link to the family members that they wish to see it all over. So if there's someone, it could be an elderly grandparent that can't make it, but they have a computer in front of them, they can give them the private link and they can still watch the service from their home or from their bed even. They don't even have to move. So it's kind of a wonderful thing with technology, has given us the opportunity to kind of expand our way of celebrating a family member. I know we did a service about 4 or 5 months ago of someone that was from India, and a lot of their family members couldn't come here to the United States because of just the time and the challenges of getting here. And we had 40 or 50 people from the country of India live streaming, watching the service. And it was really cool because on our computers at our office, we can see exactly where all the streamings are coming in from around the world. Most of them were from India, but some of them were from Asia, some were from Europe. So there were even different parts of the United States. It was amazing. We had probably 60 or 70 people totally online. Most of them were from India, but there were other people from other parts of the world. And it's pretty cool to know that this one person touched people here locally, but they also touched people from around the world. So it was really cool looking at on our little map on our screens of where they were able to touch. So we have that opportunity, and families just need to request that. We talk to them about it and we give them the opportunity. It's part of our services, so we don't charge anything extra for that. If they would like to do a live stream, we just do it as an option if families want it or not.
That's fantastic. I didn't know it was
Yeah.
even an extra fee. That is so
Yeah.
lovely. And the
Yeah.
other cool part about that, Chris, is that you're sharing with the family the impact that their loved one made to inspire 60, 50 or 60 or 70 people from around the world to do
Yeah.
their to pay their respects. And that's
Yep.
really what it comes down to, right? Is paying the
Yeah.
respects to the family, to the living,
That's correct.
of sharing how, and I still remember like that wasn't a thing when my mother passed away, but I remember in I guess you would call it a reception line. But as
Sure.
you're coming in, you're welcoming people to come in, and it was the stories, as you mentioned earlier, that oh, your mom, did this for me, or she made a difference in my nonprofit, or all the things, right? And it's just all this conversation is just
Yeah.
flooding back memories of the joy that I felt, like how proud I was that my loved
Yep.
one made a difference in other people's lives, which is great. By the way, Becky, we
Yeah.
love Becky Gano. She's coming on. Doesn't matter if you're late,
Morning,
girl.
Becky.
We're so glad you're here. Yes. Awesome. Okay. So this is awesome. We're going to finish up the show with our last question, which, excuse me, I swallowed funny. Hello, this is live. Just get so excited, Chris. I don't know.
I
Is
know.
we're talking about with live stream, the families, if they choose, they can put that link on social media. So if they would want to share it that way, they can. But again, you give them every opportunity to have a private link, so
Yeah.
only the people who get the link from the family would be able to watch it. But
That's correct.
that kind of brings us to the question about social media. And so there is a bit of social media etiquette that we should be respectful of regarding a funeral. And so again, would you answer that question, like the do's and don'ts on social media? Because this is an issue that's only been
Sure.
around for 10, 15 years now. So people might not know, and so they feel awkward about it. So go on a little bit more about that, please.
Sure. So again, when we're sitting down with a family, they kind of have to sign a disclosure if they want social media kind of present or active at a service too. Or they also need to know that they could be put on camera if we're videotaping it. But what we usually do is most families today are accepting of social media. But as a guest or a community member, you should be very respectful. You might be attending the service and you can check in, but it's really not. It's still a very private situation for the family, so it's not about doing selfies up front or selfies with the family, taking pictures up front with the casket and things. You might just say, hey, a location, I might be present at the funeral home, I might be present at the church, and I'm attending the celebration of life for my friend today. But it's not about putting it out there. It's being about respectful, it's tasteful. You can allow the family member, and the family members should also do it first. You shouldn't be ahead of the game with putting stuff out there on with the family, because some families are a little bit more conservative and just want things a little bit more private. Or you could ask permission from that family. Say, hey, would you be okay if I posted that I'm here today? And most of the time they're going to say, sure, that's not a problem. But get permission from the family, or at least an immediate family member, if you want to. If you feel the need that you need to post that you're at a funeral, um, you might just post afterwards, after that day, an hour or two later, say, hey, today I went to go support a family here. They lost their grandmother. And I just wanted to do a kind of a shout out saying, I'm still thinking of you. So maybe something after the fact might be a little bit more acceptable than just doing it live present. Sometimes that's just a little too close to home, I guess, for doing it. Where give the family a little space, allow them that time to grieve, allow them that time to have just a little private time. You're celebrating, you're there present, you're part of that time with that family. You're sharing those moments with the other people that are there. Kind of keep that just in your own heart. The world doesn't need to know about that. If the world needed to know about it, they would have been there present with the family and with you. So keep that time for yourselves, keep that time for the family, and then maybe just do a little shout out saying, that was just a beautiful ceremony today. The words spoken were just amazing. And I just want to do a shout out to the funeral home for doing an outstanding job, and thank you for doing all this for us. It was just a meaningful service. So maybe a thank you, a shout out afterwards might be something nice, but keeping it private, no matter if it's 400 or 500 people, then it's private for those 400 or 500 people that are there, and those are the memories shared amongst those that were present. And it all comes back around from the very beginning of our show. The most important thing is to be present for that family on that day of that service. That's the biggest due. Time is the most precious thing that you can give to a family. It's not about the words you say, it's about the time you sacrifice to give to them that day to support their family. That's the most important thing that you can do.
I love that. I love that. And Keisha joined us as well. It is good information. Thank you, Keisha. She is works for you, works with you as a team member at the Corona location. So thank you for joining us today, Keisha.
Yeah,
It's so
thanks.
true. I think that the other thing is if you do get permission and it's after the fact, so you're not into the private time that, like you said, be in the moment, right? I love
Yeah,
that again, once I get permission, is maybe sharing a picture of the funeral program, like with
the
their
program.
picture. And I like saying this, sharing the story of how that person impacted my life publicly. So the story
Yeah,
that I share, like recently, a friend of mine's father passed away, and I got her permission, and I took a picture of the program, and I said, what a lovely tribute today was to the life of a man who made everyone who met him smile and who made a
yeah,
difference in the lives of so many. It was wonderful to hear the stories from other people who know. Anyways, I just made a little thing about that, and I
yeah,
was told later that that meant so much to
yeah.
the family that someone publicly recognized their father for the good that they did in the world.
That's right.
And so that would be as social media do, is that
That's
you
right.
can always be, of course, if you're honoring and respectful, that's good. Also, another reason for not posting on social, especially before the funeral, is that maybe the family members haven't had time or energy to share with people they would want to share about the passing of their loved one first.
Sure.
So when people get on and say, like with celebrities, I kind of feel bad for them sometimes. Like somebody will see something in the news, they post something, it's like some of their family members didn't even know something happened to them. And for
Yeah.
them to learn it on the interwebs, it's
Yes.
just like, "Ugh, really?" Like
Yeah.
I can't imagine that. So um
Mary, also
like that.
one other thing of why we don't post things while we're there or ahead of time is when a family is having a service and all the family is at the funeral home or at the church doing their services, if there are evil people out there that know that's like, hey, those people are not home right now, they could be burglarized, they could be taken advantage of because they know that everybody in that family is in one location at the same time. So there are bad people out there scoping those types of things. That's why a lot of people don't want to put things on social media or live stream it or let a lot of people know, except for immediate family members, the exact time and day of where they're going to be, because it kind of leaves them vulnerable to those people that could take advantage of them, unfortunately. So that's another reason why a lot of people kind of keep things private or down on the down low. So then they have that private time, or else sometimes they even have families going, friends staying back at the house watching it on their computers so they can still be a part of it, but at least their house is being watched by family friends while they're attending their loved one's funeral.
That is a really good point. I jumped off real quick so I could make sure to grab that.
Yeah, yeah,
That is very true. There's not always good-hearted people out there that would want the
yeah.
best for you. Yeah. But also at a funeral, a lot of times if you're having the reception in your home, somebody would be in your home setting up.
Yes.
So
Yes.
just for the people who are listening who might have nefarious thoughts, normally at a funeral, there are people at the house
There are.
preparing it for family and guests because people come in, right? When somebody
That's
passes
right.
away, family comes from all over the world to support them who can.
That's right.
But isn't it nice that you guys have the ability to live stream it complimentary to
We do.
extend the love, extend the way? And I'm just curious, and I honestly don't know this. If you do watch on live streaming, is there any way of leaving messages through your system that they can
They
say I
can.
was there?
So on the website, so if people are watching it live, they can also log into our website, and then there's an obituary page where it's not really a live chat, but there's an area where you can leave memories and thoughts. So you can kind of do a check-in, and you can write a little thought or memory. You can even upload a photograph. So if you had a vintage photograph, you can upload it to the website, and then the family can accept it to be posted on there, or our staff can accept it to be posted on there. So it's something that can be not publicized, but at least it can be seen through the background for the family. But there's always a place that you can log into and leave a little thought or memory saying that you were able to participate in that day's service or ceremony.
I love that. That is really
Sure.
cool. And you also on your website have the ability to, it makes it really easy. They can also send a gift, flowers,
Flowers.
whatever, or a donation. Sometimes people are raising money for a
We have a
charity, right?
yeah, we have a tree memorial program also.
Oh,
Yep.
wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah,
What? There's a delay.
we
I'm
have
so
all
sorry.
sorts of little options.
Oh, okay. Very
We're
cool.
having a little delay. We're having a little glitch here right now, Mary. It's all going in and out on us. So
It's okay. That's the beauty of live. We're being authentic and real, Chris.
yes, we are.
That's awesome. Okay. Well, that was my question for today. I think we're at the half hour mark, so we're gonna
We are.
sign off for today. But thank you, Chris. This was really, really interesting information. I
A
think
good
very
day.
helpful. And so the bottom line is, if someone in your life has passed away, if you can possibly do so, show up for the family and help celebrate the life of their loved one because that will mean so much, not only in the moment, but for a lifetime, that memory will be there that you were there, you showed up on their behalf, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
Being present is the most precious thing you can give.
I love it. A true gift. All right,
Yeah.
Chris. Well, until next time, we will see you I think since you're going to OGR and I'm actually
Yep.
going to on a little trip myself,
Yeah.
we'll look forward to seeing everybody. I think it's the third week in May. But we look
Yes.
forward to another Dialogues About Death. Again, talking about this takes the weirdness out of it. And we
It
really
does.
appreciate everyone who comments or asks questions because I think knowledge is power. And if you know
Absolutely.
more, you will feel more comfortable about things. And it's death and taxes. And I think it's
That's right.
great, Chris, that you're taking the time to help people through something that they inevitably will have to deal with for
Yeah.
themselves or for someone else. So
Yeah.
I really, really enjoy this time with you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary. Safe travels to you too, Mary.
All right. Well,
Thank
you have
you for
fun.
everybody. Thanks everybody out there. Thanks for participating today.
Have a great day and be blessed in all
Great.
you do. Take care. Bye bye.
Great. Bye-bye.